We thought it was an off day, Nick. You thought. But the Reds, as they always do, find a way to reel you back in, making you work on an off day. Make sure you unmute your mic before we get started here. But just in officially from the Cincinnati Reds, they have traded former closer Alexis Díaz to the Dodgers in exchange for right-handed reliever Mike Villani. I guess you can call him a right-handed reliever. Valaini currently with the ACL Dodgers, a 13th round pick in this past year's draft. Welcome into Chatterbox Reds, everybody. As always, presented by DSC. Deep South Commodities is a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Make sure you visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. And thanks, as always, to John and our friends at DSC. Nick, I think we just have to jump right into this. I don't think we need to mess around a whole lot with it, but the biggest question here is obviously the Reds make the decision on May 29th, 2025 to trade away Alexis Díaz. Obviously, Diaz has struggled this year, both at the major league and AAA level. But this is a guy that I know you've been pining for the last 2 years to be at least explored as a trade opportunity for the Reds. Your immediate reactions as this news comes across the Raver here this afternoon.
Yeah, in terms of like right now, I mean, trading Alexis Díaz seems like it makes sense. I mean, the Reds bullpen has been pretty good this year, but I don't necessarily look at the Reds bullpen and go, man, there's no holes in the Reds bullpen, or there's no opportunities to add a guy that's a good quality option. So if Diaz isn't able to crack this bullpen right now, there's not a whole lot of purpose for him in this organization, and he is making a little bit of money too. He's not just a guy, making the league minimum like a lot of other relievers. So in terms of right now, trading him, yeah, I mean, if you're not going to use him, why keep him, right? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The Reds basically just get a lottery ticket and a 13th round pick. Side note, though, the Reds have 2 players from the 2024 Long Beach State. What's their nickname? The Racers?
No,
I don't.
Do they have a nickname?
I know they the basketball, they just wear the beach, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, Reds have Miles Smith. He was an 8th round pick. He's down at Dayton. Very interesting prospect down there. And now Mike Villani. So 2 players from the 2024 Long Beach State team in the organization. But yeah, it just is a situation, Craig, where it's what could have been in so many fronts. What could have been in terms of trading him at his peak value, which I want to spend a little bit of time talking about trading players at their peak value, because I think that's the most interesting aspect of this deal. And then also just what could have been with Alexis Díaz. This guy was an all-star. This guy was a dominant closer at times, and it stinks that his career has fallen off. Although I am almost as confident as anything as he'll be pitching in big postseason games for the Dodgers this season, and we will all be absolutely sick to our stomach watching it.
Yeah, I tweeted it out as soon as the news came out that this is the most predictable outcome possible. I think we all know where this is going to go. But before we get into it, the trivia question that I know everybody's wondering, previously known as the 49ers, Long Beach State Athletics, now currently no nickname, simply go by Long Beach State Athletics, or as you mentioned, the beach. So yeah, let's get into it. Alexis Díaz this year has not been great. Obviously at the major league level, extremely limited opportunities, pitched in 6 games, 6 innings pitched, 8 hits, 8 earned runs, an ERA at 12. Minor leagues, quite frankly, hasn't been a whole lot better. 14 games down there for Louisville, 13 2/3 innings pitched, 9 runs, 5.93 ERA, a 4.61 ERA. Hasn't looked great down there. But I'm going to be honest with you. When I saw the news that they were optioning Luis May earlier today, I thought maybe that was to bring Alexis Díaz up for an audition for a trade. I'm not surprised that Alexis Díaz was going to be moved. I think that's not a surprise at this point. What is a surprise is that they don't give him an opportunity to show off anything that he's improved while he's been at AAA, bring him back up to the major league level, show him that he is still a potential major league level caliber pitcher. But nonetheless, we'll see what happens. It is reported, however, Alexis Díaz will report to AAA for the Dodgers. But I think what you mentioned before is really the biggest question. Alexis Díaz, 2 years removed from being an all-star closer, obviously at the peak of his career at that point, but he is on, at least in general, on the older side here. So the guy that I know that you've kind of talked about an option to trade away, it was 2023 the right time? Was last year the right time? I know there's guys on the roster now that may fit a similar profile in terms of being logical trade targets, kind of at the top of their trajectory. Let's just pick it up there in terms of, if you were Nick Krall in the Cincinnati Reds front office, when you would have looked to move Alexis Díaz.
Well, I mean, as always, it depends on what the offers are and what you're getting in return with anything. You have to always say that before anything. But the Reds should have been looking to trade Alexis Díaz after the 2022 season. I mean, they got kind of lucky that 2023 everything rapidly increased, because there really was no realistic reason for why you would need Alexis Díaz in 2023 on your team. I mean, he's a 25-year-old closer, going to be actually 26 going into 2023. So you should have been exploring it then. Obviously, once you get into the 2023 season and you're in it at the trade deadline, you can't trade him then. I understand that. But then again, you probably should have been looking to shop him again in the offseason. If there's one thing this organization has failed at the most, it is being scared to trade popular players. And I was hoping that we were kind of getting away from that, because that was what absolutely killed this franchise in the mid 2010s, was, famously holding on to players like Todd Frazier and Jay Bruce too long and Johnny Cueto too long, because you had the All-Star game, and not maximizing their value while you had it. And I was hoping the Reds were getting a little better on that. They had showed some signs. The organization was doing a lot of things I felt like smarter around, getting into 2020, but they've just been too scared to move pieces. And if you're a small market team and you're going to operate like a small market team, and try to emulate what teams like the Guardians and what the Rays have done, you have to trade players that it hurts to trade. You can't be scared. You have to trade players at their peak value, because when you talk about the whole sustainable success, which everyone loves to poke fun at, the only way it works is by constantly bringing in new talent. So Alexis Díaz for me is again another lesson that if we get to the 2025 trade deadline, the Reds are out of the race, or they have a very low percentage of anything happening. They need to make trades that hurt. They need to make trades that are going to piss off fans, and they need to not care about it, because guess what? They're pissing off fans either way. So guys like TJ Friedl that are still valuable players, you trade them while they're still valuable. You don't wait until they're, in the case of Alexis Díaz, where you get a 13th round lottery ticket back in return. So that's what the Reds organization has to do a better job at if they want any chance of their plan actually working.
Alexis Díaz, you mentioned contracted at $4.5 million this year. He's arbitration eligible for the next 2 years. I don't imagine this is a straight salary dump as much as it is just a kind of a reset and just an acknowledgement that maybe Alexis Díaz and the Cincinnati Reds are not going to work out. But I mean, you optioned Luis May earlier today. You trade away Alexis Díaz now, which opens up a spot on the 40-man, whether that be for somebody like Zach Maxwell or somebody for a spot start or who knows what. I guess the real question for you is now what, right? So Luis May, who had shown promise, obviously struggled last night in relief appearance, gets optioned today. Alexis Díaz gets traded away. Your 40-man roster in terms of relievers At AAA, you're looking at Sam Moll and Yasver Zulueta. I don't know if Sam Moll is maybe ready to come up and maybe that's the move, but in your eyes, what's the move now for the Reds?
Yeah, I think the May move was just completely unrelated. A lot of times they make these moves a day early because they get to save a day of service time and they save money. And the Reds aren't the only team that does this. So it feels weird that it was today, but that's why they do it, because they save a little bit of money. They option a guy earlier, and it also actually does make it you can call Luis May up one day earlier. So there's a whole bunch of reasons why you make that move early. I think the move is either, in my opinion, it's Sam Moll or Lion Richardson. The Cubs have a lot of lefty batters, so Moll would make a lot of sense to try to help you this weekend against that. I said many times, Brent Suter's not really a lefty. He throws left-handed, but he's not a left-handed pitcher. He doesn't have that value against lefties. He doesn't have any splits or anything. He's not dominant against lefties. He's just a long man. So you really only have one true lefty, and that one true lefty hasn't been effective either in Taylor Rogers. So I think Sam Moll would make a lot of sense this weekend. Lion Richardson would also make a lot of sense just because he can give you some length. And a guy like Luis May right now is not giving you any length. May's been really good at times, but it definitely felt, you watched that game last night. I see why. All right, let's sit him down for a couple weeks. Let's clear his head. Let's try to start back over. I wouldn't keep him down very long. I mean, if he goes down and pitches well in AAA, I'd call him up the first second I can again. But again, in this series against the Cubs, we just saw last weekend how ugly it can get. You need guys that can give you innings, maybe just as sad as it sounds, just to survive this weekend. And if you have a guy like Luis May that you don't even know if he's going to be able to get you through one inning, it's really hard to see his value at this present moment.
Is Joe Lasorsa an option for you?
I don't think so. I would think they would just make a 40-man move. I don't. Is Lion eligible yet? That's the other thing. I don't know. I haven't looked into that yet.
When he got sent down.
It is 14 days for a pitcher, I believe, right? So I don't. He may not be eligible, but Sam Moll would certainly be eligible. I would be very surprised if they made a move that's not a 40-man move.
Lion was just optioned down on the 22nd. So only 7 days ago. So I don't think he's eligible.
Yeah. He would only be eligible if it was an injury, and well, there wasn't an injury. So, so I may assume the move to me, I would bet a pretty decent amount of changes is Sam Moll then.
Okay. We'll take a quick break and remind you, as always, that you can call or text 988 anytime, day or night. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is a place to get support for anything related to mental health. Whether it's an immediate crisis, simply wanting to find out how to connect with care, or anything in between. It's 100% confidential, secure, and anonymous way to reach out for help when you don't know where else to turn. To connect, call or text 988 or visit mantherapy.org to get help. It's okay not to be okay. If you're just joining us, Alexis Díaz, former Reds closer, is being sent off to the Los Angeles Dodgers in return. The 400th overall pick in the 2024 MLB draft, Mike Villani, headed back to Cincinnati. He's currently in the Arizona Complex League, has thrown 2 outings for the ACL Dodgers. In those 2 outings, 2 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts, no hits, no walks. Not bad outings for the youngin. But again, we're talking about a closer in Alexis Díaz, who was an all-star just 2 years ago, now finds his way into the Dodgers franchise, and we know how this will work out. Nick, we talk about trading players at their peaks. So the question now is, okay, Alexis Díaz, you've traded him a year or 2 late. Who on the roster now, if the Reds determine that they do need to move some guys for one reason or another, or just want to get return, who is on your radar as Reds that could or should be on the chopping block?
Well, we should point out that there was actually comments earlier today from Brad Meter that the Reds are not planning on being sellers. Now, again, that's an easy quote to say now and to roll back if you lose a whole bunch. But that was actually made earlier today. Now, Alexis Díaz, I don't really think this is necessarily a selling move, as he's a AAA and he's going to AAA. So as name value as Alexis Díaz have, you traded a player in AAA to AAA. Like, we also have to kind of remember that is actually what we're talking about here. So again, it all depends. I mean, but again, if the Reds are more than, I would say if the Reds are more than 4 games out of a playoff spot, I think they should be sellers. I think you can honestly you can make an argument, as much as I hate it, if they're like even 2 games out and there's multiple teams in there, they should probably sell. I don't think they'll do that. But if they are, I mean, I think TJ Friedel's number 1. Again, that's going to make people mad. But again, you have to trade. If you want anything back in return, you have to trade players that are good now. And TJ Friedel's played so well that I think it would make sense. I mean, TJ Friedel will be 31 years old next season. So he would definitely be at the top of the list. Obviously, any guys on expiring contracts, Austin Hayes would certainly, you almost have to trade him. Gavin Lux, it would certainly depend on the return, but you only have next year with him. I think he would make a lot of sense. And then on the pitching side, obviously Nick Martinez, he's on an expiring contract. Brady Singer, he's on an expiring contract. That would make sense. And then guys like Pagan, Rogers, there's quite a few pieces that the Reds could look to move if they get out of it. But hopefully they get hot. I mean, I hope more than anything the Reds go on a streak where they win 10 out of 12, and they're right in the middle of the race, and we don't have to have these kind of conversations. But they're also a streak the other way of losing 10 out of 12, of it being completely obvious which way they need to go. So we'll just have to see. I mean, the next 3 or 4 weeks will be very telling. And not just, I know the Reds are playing better competition, but they are playing a lot of teams outside of the Cubs. The Cubs are really good. But then after that, you have the Brewers, Diamondbacks, Guardians, Tigers, Twins, Cardinals. I mean, those are teams that are very similar to what you expect this Reds team can be. So it'll be kind of, I think, a pretty good measuring stick for really where this team's at.
Yeah, Cardinals are playing really good baseball right now. I think that's kind of being overlooked a little bit because they were expected to be so bad, but they're playing pretty good ball right now. So interesting to see. A couple questions.
Hold on real quick. I was actually did a radio interview. Shout out to our friends out in Lima. I did earlier today, and it was talking about the Cardinals. The Cardinals are what the Reds should be this year, and the Reds are what the Cardinals should be this year. Those two teams have flipped what they should be. The Cardinals have no business having the record that they have. I mean, they're supposed to be big sellers at the trade deadline, and they've overachieved, and they are at the record that they're at. The Reds have underachieved, and they're at the record they're at. But those two teams should absolutely be flipped right now. There's no reason why not.
Yeah, let's take a couple of questions from the chat for you, Nick. First question, see if I can find it again, but since I don't have admin responsibilities on the back end here, lost a couple of them. But first question, just why now for Alexis Díaz? Why do you think that the Reds made the decision to move him now?
Because you had someone that was interested. I mean, I think that's more than anything. And I mean, they probably just got to a point where they felt it was there wasn't a lot of hope left. Like, where they're like, we're just not going to use this guy, so let's just take whatever we can get at this point. Yeah, I mean, I think that's why now. But if you're a team like the Dodgers, I mean, yeah, this is why the Dodgers are so good, man. They have all this money, they have all these prospects, and they can just have a guy like Alexis Díaz with a decent like how many teams across baseball have a player sitting at AAA making what Alexis Díaz is making that they trade for? Not many. I mean, the Dodgers, though, they can just continue to do this, and if Alexis Díaz doesn't work out for them, oh well. No big deal. It's just money. What a way to live.
Must be nice. Someone asked about why the Reds and Dodgers are always making trades. I assume just sometimes GMs have similar mentalities about players' values. And, Nick talked a lot about how sometimes it just means that you have to have the right partner. And right now, if the Reds and Dodgers have similar values on players and they're aligned in terms of what they think a player is worth, then it makes it a lot easier to deal with. And once you make that first deal, It opens up some floodgates and allows you to make more. I don't think it's uncommon to see teams kind of have a semi-regular trade partner. So definitely not shocked there, but definitely understand the question. Nick, I guess we touched on it real quick, but the other news of today, obviously Luis May optioned down to AAA. Any final thoughts on that decision in terms of after last night's performance and just in general, he struggled the last couple outings?
I mean, he allowed runs in 4 of his last 5 games. And to be honest, it felt like he was kind of fortunate to get through yesterday with just that 1 run allowed. But Francona definitely does not seem like he will put up with guys who come in and walk guys right off the bat. I mean, obviously, Alexis Díaz is not a little over the organization. Luis May just got shipped down. So yeah, I mean, it seems like he's even a little bit more. I mean, I don't think any manager necessarily loves. I don't even think David Bell necessarily. He might have put up with a little bit more, but it's just not something you can have. And in this series against the Cubs, like I said, like you have to throw strikes. I mean, the last thing you can do is give the Cubs free base runners. So you need guys that can just come up and throw strikes. And again, I think there's a really good chance Luis May is right back up here in a couple of weeks. I think it's just it's what you do with a lot of pitchers that are in Luis May's shoes. You know, they come up, they look really, really good, and they have to go back down, and that's okay. I don't think that's necessarily irregular or anything like that.
I know we touched on it earlier, but a question came in about who replaces Luis May on the major league roster. I think we talked ourselves into Sam Moll. Is that where you landed?
Yeah, I would honestly be pretty surprised if it's anyone other than Sam Moll, unless the Reds just want to get up someone that is a real true innings eater. I've talked a little bit about Sam Ben-Schuster. He's been pitching really well down at AAA as a starting pitcher, but I believe they've used him before as a reliever too. He'd make a lot of sense if the Reds feel like their pitching is in a situation where they need a guy that can give them 3 or 4 innings if they need it. So if they decided to go that route, I think Sam Ben-Schuster would be the guy probably at the top of the list. But I'd be pretty surprised if it's anyone other than Sam Moll. Pitching a little bit better. I know our friend Reds in 4 put out something earlier today saying that some of his stuff plus grades and stuff like that have looked better of recent. And let's not forget, Sam Moll was the Reds' best reliever for quite a while. And he's had some injuries that are probably a big reason why he had fallen off a little bit. But Sam Moll could absolutely, be a comeback and be a big piece for this team.
Resin 4 put it in the chat. I don't know if you saw it or not, but Sam Moll was officially activated from his 15-day IL stint back on May 21st and optioned to the minors with that activation. Question is whether or not Sam Moll is eligible to be promoted to the major league roster.
I assume he is because he didn't pitch in the big leagues. Unless there's something I don't know about these roster.
Yeah, I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but officially, according to the transaction log, he was optioned to the minors on the 21st. So
yeah, I don't know. I just assume because he didn't actually pitch that he's still eligible. But if he's not, that would make it very interesting.
Well, the other thing that he put in the chat is that obviously with the injury to Hayes last night, which we don't know the outcome yet, he was supposed to get an MRI this morning. If he does have to go on the IL, theoretically you could put him on the IL, have Moll be the corresponding move for that, and then still promote somebody else.
I actually don't think you can do that because I'm pretty sure IL has to replace the same type of player. I don't think you can replace
position.
I'm pretty sure I remember reading that before, that it does. If it's a pitcher, it has to be replaced by another pitcher if it's an IL swap.
Yeah.
I guess I need to do a little bit more learning, Craig.
No wonder you didn't get hired by the Reds yet.
Yeah.
You don't even know when you're eligible to be promoted. I guess like all of us, we'll just have to stick around and see tomorrow when the lineups come out for the matchup with the Cubs. I would assume sometime tomorrow morning. The game's at is it 1:20 Eastern time tomorrow?
2:20. They're all 2:20.
It throws me off. All right,
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all 2:20.
2:20. So I would imagine sometime late morning, early afternoon, probably more so late morning than early afternoon, we will have an update on the roster moves and have an insight there. But again, for those of you just joining, Alexis Díaz off to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Mike Villani, the 400th overall pick in the 13th round of the 2024 MLB draft, comes back to the Reds in return. Valaini in his last, is on a rehab stint currently with the ACL Dodgers, 2 outings, 2 innings, 5 strikeouts, no hits, no walks. Not a bad line for the youngster. Nick, any final thoughts on the news of today for the Reds?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, it's a sad day for just that Alexis Díaz didn't work out, and that the Reds really botched this whole situation. I mean, they just completely botched everything with Alexis Díaz. Outside of let's not forget, outside of finding a guy out of nowhere, developing him and getting him to the big leagues that really never should have been there. So they did do that part of it very well, because it's not like Alexis Díaz was some, it's not like he was a Aroldis Chapman and you signed him and like anyone could have developed a Aroldis Chapman to make the bigs. They did pick him up. They did develop him. They did get him to the big leagues, and they did pitch him well enough to be an all-star. So they handled that part of it well, but everything from that point on has been utter brutal.
Oh man. Yeah, they did everything right to get him up there, and then everything wrong since then. But just a quick comment. Nick Kroll made a comment earlier, said that Alexis Díaz did not request a trade. This wasn't a request from Alexis Díaz. This was a decision by the Cincinnati Reds. Quote from Nick Kroll on Alexis Díaz said, quote, "Where he was 2 years ago, the first half of 2023, and where he is, he's obviously not where he needs to be. He's a great kid. It's just one of those where a change of scenery might help him. He's in AAA, and we have other guys we have brought up ahead of him. He wasn't going to be brought up tomorrow, and we felt like it was the right time to make this move. We ended up clearing a roster spot. We can reallocate some of the resources. We got a pitcher back that we like." And then on Mike Villani said, quote, he has good arm strength, and he can swing a breaking ball. So not a whole lot more there on Mike Villani, but the quote from Nick Kroll is certainly interesting in terms of, one, this wasn't a trade request, and two, just felt like a change of scenery might help him, and that ultimately they didn't view him very high on their depth chart in the bullpen.
Oh, we'll see. So, look, he's Villani, certainly not going to have a lot of high expectations, but you never know. I mean, one of the Reds, I think, best pitching prospects in terms of what they've done this season was a 17th round pick in 2022. Easton Sikorsky's just been absolutely dominant for Dayton. So you never know. But hey, look, if you're in a situation with Alexis Díaz and this is all you can get, you'll take what you can get and hope and pray that you'll strike. You never know. You never know with these guys.
Yeah. Do we have a pregame show tomorrow? 2:20 start time. I didn't know if
no pregame show tomorrow. We typically only do the weeknight games. So yeah.
Okay. And the brothers will be live in the 9th inning still?
Brothers should, yep, they'll be live in the 9th inning on Friday and Saturday. And then me and Trace will be back Sunday night. Okay.
Be sure to join Chatterbox Sports pretty much every day with your coverage of Cincinnati sports. Off the Bench live every day, Monday through Friday, 10 a through 12 p Eastern. As we just mentioned, since Chatterbox Reds live in the 9th inning of every single Cincinnati Reds game. Be sure to check in, click the subscribe button, drop us a like, and make sure you get notified every time we go live. For Nick Kirby, we appreciate you all tuning in on this Thursday afternoon. On behalf of Nick, this has been Craig Sandlin, Chatterbox Reds. As always, we love you. Go Reds.